All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our February 16, 2021 City Council meeting. It is 7 o'clock p.m. Meeting is now in session. Tonight's invocation will be led by Pastor Tony Rodriguez from Calvary Chapel, New Beginnings, and Mayor Pro Tem Castellano will be leading the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ, we thank you for the city council that you have appointed, this legislative body that is responsible for the overall policies and directions for this great city of West Covina. We thank you for the wisdom and the knowledge that you impart upon your people, our intellect, our hearts, our spirit, our strength, our talents, and our gifts have all been imparted upon us by your sovereign will. We know that everything exists because of you, and everything that has been created was created to bring you glory and honor. We thank you again for the city of West Covina, for the men and the women that you have appointed, that you have placed to direct the city for such a time as this. Most notably, Mayor Leti Lopez Villaro, Mayor Pro Temp David Castellanos, Councilwoman Rosario Diaz, Councilman Tony Wu, Councilmember Brian Tabatabai. I humbly ask that you would impart your knowledge, your understanding, and wisdom upon these in order that they can effectively respond to this pandemic, to achieve the city's fiscal sustainability and financial stability, to enhance our facilities and infrastructure, to enhance our city's image and effectiveness, to protect the great people of this city, and to engage in the economic development here in the city of West Covina. I pray that the decisions made today would be fruitful and beneficial for all. Help us to be united for the common good of this city. Help us to see from your perspective and not our own. Help us to be the leaders that bring you glory and honor. In closing, I thank you, Heavenly Father, and the Lord Jesus Christ, for giving us your ear to hear this humble request. Amen.
Everyone, please face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Assistant City Clerk, roll call, please.
Good evening, Mayor. Councilmember Tabatabai.
Present.
Councilman Wu.
Here.
Councilwoman Diaz.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Castellanos.
Here.
Mayor Lopez Villaro.
Present. City Attorney, is there anything to be reported out of closed session?
Nothing, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Now on to our presentation.
Testing.
I would like to invite Pastor Matt Chavez up to the floor, please. We are giving a presentation for One and All Church, partnered with God's Pantry to distribute groceries to families in need. Since beginning in September, roughly 2,000 families have been fed. There are distributions in Pomona, Chino, Azusa, Rancho Cucamonga, Fontana, and of course in our city as well. I know each council has attended the food drive at Cameron Park, so we wanted to thank you for that. And we wanted to let the residents know that the food distribution is still fourth Saturday of the month, correct? So the next one will be on Saturday, February 27. And if you'd like to say a few words about the event.
Testing.
Gotcha. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us out. JD, I see you. Always great to see you. Mayor Lopez Viado and the full council. We're grateful to be here. We're grateful that you guys have allowed us in the city to be able to just serve and love on our community. That's what we love. That's what we love doing. And if I can actually just bring up one person. Okay, just from our, Pastor Michael, I'll let you come up real quick. We're excited. We're going to actually be able to open again, thank God, at the Cameron Park Community Center. We'll be opening on the 28th. We're excited to be able to be back. I know JD's excited right across the street. He'll be excited. But we will be back. We're excited to be opening. But we are actually moving our God's Pantry location. I'll let him, Pastor Michael, he actually heads up all of our outreach. So I'll let him just kind of give a little insight on that real quick.
Wonderful. No, take your time.
All right, thanks.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having us here. We appreciate it. One of the, Jessica, can you come? One of the, just closer. All right there. Is that good?
I have your certificates.
Oh, thanks. One of the things that we really wanted to let you guys know that we're here for the community. This is a very, very difficult time, but one of the things as pastors is that we want to emulate Jesus. He was compassionate and he cared for people who are in need. And we know that in this pandemic, it has been very, very difficult for a lot of people. And so one of the things that we do with God's Pantry, Jessica is here from God's Pantry, is that God's Pantry has become such a large organization because we helped fund it as a church, as one old church, but now they are so big and they're able to do this on their own. But one of the things that they do is they give us the food, and then our church provides the team members or the volunteers that help distribute the food and to pray for people. And so that's how our relationship is. They bring the food, and then we provide the team members or the volunteers to help distribute the food and to pray. But they also do more things. So Jessica, briefly. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. So God's Pantry has been more than a food pantry. Amazingly, we have been able to create a care center where we are able to help with resources. We've created a residential center for transitional age youth men. We've worked with the American Job Center as well as TSC and Bridge to Works to create employment opportunities within our organization. And this has allowed students or young adults to not only provide for themselves, but provide for their families as well. We have encouraged finishing high school, obtaining a diploma, and even enrolling into colleges. Mount SAC has been one of the popular choices. So we're very excited about all the things we do, and we're very thankful for One and All and for West Covina for allowing us to find another home in an amazing community.
That's right. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
We wanted to thank you. So we do have a certificate. City of West Covina, just want to thank you for everything that you've done. We have one for God's Pantry, and we have One and All Church.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
thank you very much.
Thank you for all that you do.
Woo! Thank you. So we're moving to Palm View for the next distribution.
That's
right?
very important so that the
That's
residents know where to go. There you go.
That'll be Palm View. Airplane Park, I know you know that place. Airplane Park, I grew up playing there myself. That'll be Airplane Park every fourth Saturday, like you said, every fourth Saturday of the month. So we'll be there. So please let everybody know because we're serving food or even just to come out and serve. We're doing all that too. What's that? Oh, yeah.
Distribute food in different
We won't forget that. We'll think about it. We'll try to see how we get another truck out there too. But
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Also, we're here to present a proclamation for Black History Month. This year, the theme of Black History Month is the Black family, representation, identity, and diversity. Families are the foundation of African American life and a key to understanding the community's history and culture. This theme also encourages us to celebrate the contributions of African Americans who have fought for a country that lives up to its ideals. The Declaration of Independence states that all men are created equal, but when written, it applied only to white land-owning men. Equality and freedom were denied from the beginning to African Americans who fought throughout the nation's history for our founding documents to live up to their true meaning. So this one just showing that we have the proclamation, and we're going to give this to the city. So thank you. Okay, so before moving to oral communications, we have a few adjournments. The first one, we'd like to adjourn Amelia Becklig, a nurse who worked at Queen of the Valley Hospital for almost 30 years. She passed away due to COVID. She was a caring and compassionate with her patients, nurturing with the new and older coworkers. With her many years as a nurse at Queen of the Valley, she will be forever missed. The DOU will never be the same without her. We also want to adjourn Hector Elizalde. He's a Deputy District Director and Military Veterans Liaison for Congresswoman Grace, who passed away February 7, 2021 due to complications from COVID-19. Mr. Elizalde loved and was proud of his family, especially his grandchildren. He was kind, thoughtful, and helpful to everyone he met. His laughter and the way he cared for others will forever live on in our memories. Is there any other adjournments? Okay. Go ahead.
Not working.
Oh, mine's don't as well.
Oh, okay. I want to adjourn in the memory of one of a very good friend. Okay, he's a long-term resident living in West Covina. 5 years ago, she moved to Bridge Creek Retirement Home, and she's such a wonderful lady. I have my honor to meet her. Okay, she passed away 2 weeks ago with a COVID-19 complication, and her name is Nancy Fox. Okay, I think a lot of people know Nancy. She was very active to protect our city, and she always calling me almost the past 5 years, say, Tony, okay, I need you to come over here, clean my creek. Okay, Bridge Creek has a creek, okay, and they have always have overgrown vegetation. That's kind of a county's responsibility, but the city always with county to work with Bridge Creek Retirement Home and clean the creek for the resident, about 110 residents over there. And I cannot believe, she passed away 2 weeks ago. And when I received this, and I remember clearly, from the manager, and I went in October to celebrate, Lori, 103 birthday, and Nancy Fox told me, she said, Tony, I will turn 90 years old next year. You have to be here. And she was so energetic and so friendly. I'm so sad to receive her passing. So I want people to remember Nancy Fox, such a great lady. And now we're trying to find a vaccine for entire complex. For the Bridge Creek. For their residents. Hopefully we can continue to protect them. So we're so sorry we cannot protect Nancy, but hopefully we can protect the rest of residents. Thank you so much. But Assistant City Clerk, would you please send a condolence to the family to let them know we miss her and we love her. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? We will now move to oral communication. If anybody would like to address the council, please fill out a yellow speaker card and submit it to the Assistant City Clerk. Additionally, due to the current ongoing public health emergency, oral communications are being accommodated via telephone call request by 5:30. Any emails received by 4 p.m. have been posted to the city website. All emails are part of the public record. Assistant City Clerk, how many speakers do we have?
We have 10 speaker cards.
Okay, go ahead.
We have
Mike Greenspan, a Bruin butt-kicking Florida Gator. Oh, and it's nice that the food pantry gives out food. I hope they're not putting the swine in there. Jesus never ate porky pig or any part of the swine. He kept food law. I hope we're not putting any shrimp or bottom feeders in there. Shellfish, just to let people know. And he never went on an Easter egg hunt. Anyway, now, there's one issue I want to talk about the very most, and it's the most current issue. It's the recall. Governor Gavin, Aunt Nancy, what am I going to do? They're going to fire me. And unlike the dog and pony show with Donald Trump, where they beat a dead horse to try to impeach somebody who was already termed out of his office due to somebody else winning, they kept going, and they got 57 votes, which 57% voted to remove him, even though he wasn't even in office. And now, guess what? They didn't win. You have to have 67 votes. So they're only 10 votes short. Whereas when the recall qualifies for the ballot, it'll only take a simple majority, 50% plus one, to remove Nancy's nephew, Governor Gavin. Aunt Nancy, what am I going to do? I'm getting fired. The people don't like me anymore. Well, I guess Aunt Nancy will have to put him to work someplace in one of their businesses. They've got plenty of businesses and millions of dollars in the triple figures of millions. I've heard 400 million Nancy's worth, so I think they'll be able to find a job for him. Just we don't want to hire him. In fact, I have a sign I've made. I want to show it to the crowd on TV. Recall Governor Gavin. Yes, we're going to recall him. After all, I love these new governor days. We haven't had a good one since we recalled Gray Davis. And now Gavin's numbers started out better, and now they're going to tank. And the only reason that your places are open, and former mayor and current council member Tony Wu, who said one size doesn't fit all, is Gavin Newsom is going to lose his job, his nice cushy job, and all the benefits that come therewith. So, and I can't wait. I've already sent those signatures in that I've gathered, and I'm sure I'll go gather a few more. Now, the recall advocates have said they plan to wrap it up by the end of February. They have until St. Patty's Day, March 17th. They're anticipating they're going to get 1,900,000 signatures, and you need about 1,500,000 valid signatures, so we'll have the election for new Governor Day. I can't wait when they remove Governor Gavin. After all, one of the things I hope they do, the new governor, be it Faulkner or be it Cox, they take the blue pencil, put it into the budget, and they blue pencil out every penny, totally defund UCLA football. Now, we've got this rhetoric about defunding the police, but we really need to defund UCLA football. I know that the losing coach, who's not had one winning season, Chip Kelly, is not homeless. I don't know where he lives, but I know that when you get $3 million a year, you are not homeless. And all that money could be used for homeless support services. You defund it, totally defund it, and then you transfer it down to the county to an agency other than LASHA that cannot help it. Perhaps from the Bay Area, there's Episcopal Charities Association that helped out the Berkeley Emergency Food and Housing Project about 10 to 15 years ago when they got into financial problems. They helped them out and got them right administratively. But we do need to have something for the homeless. And the best way to do it is to get rid of the football team at UCLA. Now, USC can play other schools, much better schools like Ohio State, LSU, Alabama, which would all kick their butts. But after all, they can play them instead of playing a bunch of pansies that come from Westwood, UCLA, a has-been team. I mean, UCLA football games are like Humphrey Bogart movies. People don't go to them anymore. Now, the Taxpayer Bowl, that was UCLA hosting Cal Berkeley, and we were flipping the tabs for both. Would I say the stadium at the Rose Bowl was half empty or half full? Neither. It was 65% empty, and us taxpayers paid for those empty seats, and we paid for both teams to come down to watch UCLA lose. I mean, UCLA always finds a nice way to lose at the expense of the taxpayers and homeless support services. Kind of like the old Stan Laurel of Laurel and Hardy. Another fine mess you've gotten us into, Ali. Well, another fine loss for UCLA at the expense of the taxpayers and homeless support services. After all, let's leave the crib courses over there for the football team at USC, but have them play a real team and real games instead of crib games from some team like UCLA. Beat USC, they haven't done that. Oh, golly, the last time it was the day John David Booty ran all day to save his booty. Thank you.
Herman, followed by John Shoemaker, followed by Alex Lamb.
Good evening. My colleague here wishes to address the council tonight due to the fact that I've been censored by individuals of this council and a person known as the mayor. The mayor believes that this is the only control you could do to people in a public meeting. This is the only control. And many of you know what control is all about. So, let's take it back a step. Pussies and pooches on the corner of 6th.
Continue. Thank you.
Negro will have to fight.
Disrupting. Thank you. Time's up. Thank you. Next. City clerk. Assistant city clerk. Thank you.
For the time and the opportunity. I appreciate all the political arena audience as well too. I'm looking forward to talk.
John Shoemaker, followed by Alex Lamb, followed by Lisa Mayo. Thank you, Herman.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Of all the things our city needs, we get 2 village idiots. There's one thing that I'd like to ask. When I look at the agenda, we'll see property put on there, and it always gives a number. Can't we put the dress on? You know, what's being hid? You know, parcel number 82, 95, 72, 87. Oh, okay. You know, when we get up here to talk, you want our name, you want our address. You know, so, you know, why can't you just have staff? I've asked this for years. Just put the address on. Or where it's about, you know, so we don't have to go looking it up. One other thing I'd like to discuss. For a while, there's been a group of people who get up here who talk about how people who own property in West Covina are not the rightful owners, that there's another group of people who are the owners. And I could tell how that pains them, that, you know, that other people have this stolen property. And I was figuring out, how can we solve that problem? How can we help eliminate that problem? You know, so I remember there's this thing called the California Quitclaim Deed. Even if you don't own a piece of property, you can quit claim your interest in that property. Then I find out that one of the people who's the leader of the group owns property in West Covina. Why would you be buying stolen goods, stolen property from people? You know, so I want to lift the burden this person faces. They can sign this. Now, I know they're going to go, well, I owe money to the bank. No problem. You continue paying the bank. When you pay the bank off, the original people who were here will own your property. I imagine they'll work out something with you for renting to live there. Or if you sell it before you pay it off, you can quit claim any interest that you have, so whatever profit you make would be turned over to the original owners. You know, because you don't want to profit from stolen property. You know, all of you, if you came across something that was stolen, would you pocket proceeds from it? You'd give it back, wouldn't you? So I think that's what we should do. Now, I know there's going to be some people who say, well, I don't own any property. Well, if family members do, you can quit claim any interest that you may receive in the future. So it goes back to the original owners. Because you don't want to inherit, oh, that dirty land that got stolen that we don't have a right to. You know, it reminds me of the old joke about, you know, breakfast, ham and eggs. You know, one was participated, the other one was committed. Well, here's a chance to be committed. To go through and say, I don't want to benefit from this. What I also would like to know is how many of these same people benefit from this corrupt system as they claim it by going to school, getting an education, receiving money from it. You know, if any of you on the council believe that it's a corrupt government, that there's, you know, that this land was stolen and we have no rights to it, I hope you're not taking any money from that corrupt government to be on this council. Because that's just showing that, hey, it's corrupt until I get my piece. And that's not really showing good leadership. So I'll leave these here. And all you have to do is sign it, fill in necessary information. If you need some help on it, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to get the information for you. I'll even track down a notary so you can sign it in front of them. And then you can get up here and say, I showed my commitment. What I thought was kind of funny is one person got up here and talked about how this was their home. When they moved away for a while, they were so happy to move back to their home. Wow, their home is stolen land. I wouldn't be harping on that if I, thought I really believed what the comments that I make are. So I thank you. And if you need any, like I said, if you need any help on this, just give me a call. You know where to find me. Thank you.
Alex Lamb, followed by Lisa Mayo, followed by Jerry Patras.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Alex, and I'm a resident of District 2. And I wanted to come to this City Council meeting to humbly express my gratitude. I spoke at the last City Council meeting, and I shared a personal situation of mine. And afterwards, I was overwhelmed with the support and the help and the advice that I received. So first and foremost, I would actually like to thank Mayor Letty. Later that night, Mayor Letty reached out to me, offered some assistance, and the next day she connected me with the city manager and additional members of the West Covina Police Department. Secondly, I would also like to thank all the officers of the West Covina Police Department, the numerous officers that came through the neighborhood to assist with this personal issue, to the officers that took the time to stop and talk to all the neighbors and residents in the neighborhood, to the officers that stopped and took the time to explain to me the processes and the procedures that they face and experience. And lastly, but not least, to the residents of West Covina. I myself am a part of several interest groups throughout the various social media platforms, interest groups of West Covina. And the support, the outreach that I received through all the platforms, the individuals, several of the Facebook groups in particular, thank you. Thank you for, it has been a very long time since I have felt included and have had that sense of neighborhood, to feel that sense of being included in the community. And I know several of these individuals are probably watching the city council meeting tonight. So I wanted to express my gratitude and my thanks for looking out for a fellow neighbor. And thank you for that. And so throughout this entire process, I actually learned from the police officers, our neighbors, the advice and the support that I received that a lot of the West Covina residents are, we don't have access to information that is transparent and easily accessible. And I think that, instead of, there are certain issues where, we need to approach our county and we need to approach our state. And a lot of our residents don't know that. And so from that, I learned that we actually need more accessible information that is easy to digest and very easy to find. So I come to you, with that ask, and again, I humbly express my gratitude for everyone and their involvement, for my personal situation. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Lisa Mayo, followed by Jerry Patras, followed by Sophia Chaveria.
Hello, Mayor Viado, Lopez Viado, council people. I can't do as well as that gentleman did with his speeches, and I wish I could make you all laugh. But I'm here to thank you for allowing me to show the film here on the music video, because it did win an award at the film festival. And so I want to thank you because you have always helped me with my nonprofit organization. I know it's very difficult for where you're at to get to hear all of us, but I come with a heart of gratitude for as always helping our kids, which is my passion. We will, because of COVID, we had this film that I was working on. So we finally got it. We're in the last stages of editing. So with God's blessings, then I'm going to be able to show it. I'm going to have a red carpet event, and hopefully I'll be able to have it by August maybe, depending, of course, obviously how it goes. And thank you so very much for the COVID vaccines. I appreciate that. I mean, thank you for all the work you do. You go, girl. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. And we do have, I did come with Kerry. He will be speaking in a little while. And he's never been to a city council meeting, so he's getting like a rude awakening. But thank you so very much. Okay, and I will keep you posted into the next film. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Senator Susan Rubio was kind enough to put a little bit of a note on domestic violence in the film. So she will be a part of it as well as what she's doing in the legislation in Sacramento.
Nice. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Jerry Patras, followed by Sophia Chaveria, followed by Jim Grivich.
Good evening. Jerry Patras, West Covina resident. I really am. Anyway, on agenda item 3, that's the local emergency. It is on the consent calendar, and I'm asking that you pull off this consent calendar. It's a very important item. We have new council members. I'd like to have I and others would like to have reassurance that this is actually for COVID and not just a general financial emergency. And it's very helpful and transparent when the council discusses these items like this. The second one I'd like to comment on tonight is not an agenda item, but it is something that many of us have noticed. We don't see our assistant city manager anymore. We do understand he's not with us. So what are the plans? Are you reorganizing? It's a little opaque. Let's get it a little bit transparent of what's going on. Thank you.
Sophia Chaveria, followed by Jim Grivich, followed by Carrie Eastman.
Hello, my name is Sophia Shavira. I'm a registered nurse, and I'm sure you understand why the emotional, mental, and physical well-being of our citizens is very important to me. Healthy communities are safe communities free of crime and violence. The COVID-19 pandemic has negatively impacted all of us. Our community is suffering emotional and financial uncertainty. Many of us have lost friends and family to this pandemic. The fact that adults in our community are permitted to aid and abet juveniles in committing hate speech and hate crimes is irreprehensible. Citizens of Montera Point have made over 90 calls to the West Covina Police Department. We are curious about the cost of each service call. 90 calls times what amount in dollars and cents? Can the city of West Covina afford this drain on its already strained police force and financial resources? What about our property values? Why won't you agree to refer this matter to the Community and Senior Services Commission? We are pleading with you once again to collaborate with us to address this hatred in our community and remedy our anxiety, pain, and suffering. A 6-year-old boy has been traumatized and re-traumatized by witnessing 2 vicious dogs attacking and biting his mother and neighbor. Juveniles corralled him, calling him racial pejoratives and homophobic slurs, and tried to push him off his bike. The same juveniles also kicked his grandparents out of the community pool for being Asian and were shouted at, "Go back to your country." Later, another juvenile punched the passenger window where he was sitting, further traumatizing him. Trauma and repeated trauma trigger severe emotional distress. Medical research has proven that early childhood trauma negatively impacts the mental and physical health of children far into their adult years. Repeated trauma triggers chronic and complex disease, diabetes, heart disease, mental illness, and cancer. Another 10-year-old boy, the son of 2 registered nurses, was knocked down to the ground and choked. He became so terrified in his home that he cried when his parents had to work at the hospital. They moved December 19th. A Filipino family moved in. The Filipino family that moved in moved out within 24 hours because they were so harassed and terrorized by the next door neighbors at 1825 Borrego. Our children are struggling with anxiety, depression, nightmares, insecurity, and they're having difficulty learning. Their heightened anxiety and inability to play outside because of the repeated assaults of their disturbed neighbors is significantly impeding their cognitive function. These children are struggling to pay attention, problem solve, and memorize. A senior citizen has a temporary restraining order after a juvenile chased her, screaming at her, "I'm going to kill you." Despite this order, the mother of these misguided juveniles proceeds to lie in wait for the victim to check her mail or walk her dog and follows her around videotaping her. We are also deeply concerned about the mental stability of the juveniles committing these heinous crimes. How will these 4 children develop into happy, healthy, mentally stable adults able to contribute some good to their community when their hearts are filled with hate and vitriol? There must be a better way to remedy this injustice. Let's unite and build a bridge of communication between the City Council and the Community and Senior Services Commission. In conclusion, please reflect upon this quote from Baha'u'llah, the prophet of the Baha'i faith. The well-being of mankind, its peace and security are unattainable unless and until its unity is firmly established. Let all be united in the divine power of love. Wherever you find the attributes of God, love that person, whether he be of your family or of another. Shed the light of a boundless love on every human being you meet, whether of your country, your political party, or of any other nation, color, or shade of political opinion. And heaven will support you while you work in this, in gathering of the scattered peoples beneath the shadow of the almighty tent of unity. Thank you.
Jim Grivich, followed by Casey Eastman, followed by Yolanda Eastman.
Hello. Normally I talk about money. Tonight will be a little bit different. I don't know if you're aware of it, but West Covina has become famous on a national level. You made the New York Times. And the article was actually kind of interesting. It was a subject I spoke to you about quite a bit in the past, basically what we used to call the pension obligation bonds. And I thought I would quote something that was in the article because I think they introduced a new word that wasn't in any of my previous speeches. This is a quote. The bonds were risky financial arrangements born of desperation, adopted to fulfill ballooning pension payments they could no longer afford. Then later on in the same article, it says, investors are desperate for a yield in a world of 0% interest rates. And then a city official is quoted in the article saying, it boggles my mind that anyone would buy those bonds. The reason I'm bringing this up is the trouble in West Covina has reached the national stage. And I've said on many times in the past that I think the financial issues here are major. And I'm a little concerned that everyone understands that. And it so happens that virtually the same day this article appeared in the New York Times, another article appeared in the San Gabriel Valley Tribune where a city official is quoted as saying, we need more police officers. Now, I am absolutely in favor of police. That's not my issue here. My issue is money. The city is in serious money trouble. And discussions of just adding staff or adding anything for that matter really doesn't matter, are inappropriate in an environment until we respond to the state audit, that we know where we're going. That has to happen. There's no plan that I'm aware of in any detail, and it needs to happen. And I get a little bit philosophical about this. Go back to when I was in graduate school, which now seems a really long time ago. There was a book published in 1969 that was part of our reading, and it was about the 5 stages of death, grief, and loss. I think the city of West Covina is going through that right now. Mostly loss, but some grief. Organizations tend to keep going the way they've always gone. The word for that is called entropy. Things just keep going the way they always can. It's really not possible for this city to continue on that path anymore. Unfortunately, I don't think there's very many people in the city that accept that. And the first stage of death or grief or loss is denial. It isn't real. So we can just keep doing what we've always done. And I want to go back to the police a little bit. As I said, this isn't really about money. The lady that was just before me talked about what was in her mind criminal acts. And I wonder if she's aware that there's movement going on in the state to decriminalize a lot of things that used to be crimes. There's also something more serious. This county just elected a district attorney who's declared that a lot of things that are on the official list of crimes won't be prosecuted by the district attorney, in effect nullifying their criminality. So a lot of the things that she's talking about won't go anywhere. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because what is the police anymore? Who are they? What is their role in an environment where crimes aren't crime anymore, where nobody will prosecute crime? What does the police do? That's kind of a big issue. And I think this council needs a serious consideration of that. Because, I'm a resident. If somebody comes and assaults me, what's going to happen?
Carrie Eatman, followed by Yolanda Eatman, followed by Frank Williams.
Hi, my name is Carrie Eatman. I live at 2041 Evening Side Drive, West Covina, 91792. And I just, it's my first time coming down here, and I just wanted to say a few things. Now, going back a little bit, I've been doing my healing here for the past 5 years after my daughter Sierra passed in the San Bernardino terrorist attack. So I've been here, getting my things together. I got married again. I've done a lot of healing, and it's been a really good time here. For all those issues and stuff, that you have to go through that process. And, I've interacted with the community to some degree. I'll never forget Officer Rodriguez. He came over the house. It looked like a suspicious package had come to the house, and Officer Rodriguez came over, and we looked at it, and it just was a case of marinara sauce that broke in a box, and it looked strange. I'd never seen it. We looked at it for quite some time. We took pictures. It was so interesting because it was Halloween, so we didn't know what it was. So we went through that. And so, he told me things, and I tried to communicate with some of the other, like the fire department. I do drones, and I always wanted to, try to interact with the city, doing drone programs, flying drones and things like that, which we were doing in at the school my wife works at, LA Trade Tech, and so those were some of the things that we did, and my work has always been in community for the longest. Whether it's the Screen Actors Guild, helping people get movies out, or songwriting, or publish. I was published as a songwriter, in the 80s, at Island Records in England. And so I've always been sharing that. In fact, when I lived in Moreno Valley, I became the first black male to become the Moreno Valley Cultural Arts Foundation, which started at the beginning of the city. And so I was the first one to actually take the ram of that. And we had projects like Katrina, working on that, helping people get connected. I think that was the first time I was using the internet to connect people, because people couldn't find each other. A lot of people, you know what I'm talking about. They were misplaced, and so I said, we'll just make videos of these people, and they can put it out there, and how people can communicate. I'm here. This is where I'm at. This is what I look like. This is what I'm doing. And so that was a big help. We did a lot of children programs. I worked with the Color Purple production when they came out here, and they gave me the opportunity to, invite a lot of people from the Inland Empire to the Dorothy Chandler Museum, Dorothy Chandler in downtown LA. And we took about 5 busloads of people down there so they could see the show. A lot of kids in the Inland Empire, so they can get more exposure to how productions go and things like that. So, we did a lot of things like that. And overall, I think I had a great time, here getting everything together. I haven't been able to work with anybody here, because we had so many ties in LA. So most of our work has been going into the city and, on the grind, going into the city, coming back and things like that. And that's how, I just would like to introduce my wife. We do have an issue. I want to tell you some good stuff, but we have an issue, and so my wife is beautiful. She has been through so much. Hospital, did a little mix up, or with her lungs full up with bio and everything, and it's been a long time, just working with her, getting her back to strength, getting her strength back and everything like that. So, she's back here, she's here now, so I'm so happy about that. And I just think that we've been dealing with that. So my wife, Yolanda, I would like to introduce you.
It's a pleasure having you here with us today. And you're just in luck. Officer Rodriguez is actually sitting here with the audience. So right there in the corner. He's an audience today, but that's the officer. Thank you.
Yolanda Eatman, followed by Frank Williams.
Thank you very much. I moved to West Covina in 2013, so I've been here 9 years. And so I am excited that we found Lisa, and we're going to be doing a video here to accompany a record that Carrie wrote in the 80s called Praise Ye the Lord. And so we're excited to be able to do this in our city. So, but my issue today is a problem that we've had. We live in the West Covina community that has condos. And so we are 4 attached units. And unfortunately, one of our neighbors died last year, and they sold the property, And of course, they came in, they cleaned out and painted it and got it ready for showing, and we ended up with his roaches. We have the worst roach infestation I've ever seen in my life. And like Carrie said, I almost died as a complication of a medical procedure. And so my lungs were compromised. And so this, a couple of months ago, I was admitted to the hospital at Kaiser Baldwin Park. And so one of the things the doctor asked me was about any kind of infestation. He says, because I can't understand why your lungs are compromised at this point. And I said, well, we do have roaches, and they seem to be a bigger problem. We've told the landlord about it. And so we started removing anything in our house that is not essential, covering up items. And we discovered when we moved the couches that there must have been 1 million roaches underneath. So I have called the health department. I'm a retiree of LA County Department of Health Services. I have made 2 complaints, and I'm asking. I've also called the Department of Aging and told them that this is a danger to my health and my family's health. And the landlord just raised the rent. So that's his only response. So I says, well, I tell you what, I'm not paying your rent. You move me out of here, get the roach infestation clear, and let us move out into a hotel until I can safely return. Because, you know, you have a reaction to the poisons that they put in your home as well. So I'm at my wit's end. And I did call City Hall, and they told me to quote ordinance number 1941.1, which is uninhabitable dwelling. And so I just want you to know that I'm in the process of doing this, but I do need help because no one should live like this. No, the next people that move in should not live like this. And so that's what I'm asking for your help. Thank you, Mayor.
Did you give your information to our assistant city clerk? Okay.
I will, yes, and I will give. I'll give the copies of the back and forth communication with the landlord as well. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we did receive a 3-day notice today. The pay or quit.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Sorry to hear that.
Frank Williams.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor. Frank Williams. I've been here a couple times. I am let's see here. I live in District 4, and I have our family-run business in District 3. So we are a double constituent. Also, we've been here for more than 23, 25 plus, I can't even remember how many years. I've been a volunteer in our youth sports programs for more than 20 years. And you guys have seen me around Cortez Park with the West Covina Bruins. I'm also a volunteer for the Youth Sports Council. So I chair the Youth Sports Council, which gets all the youth sports leagues that we put together. And so that way we can work harmoniously with the city. And I also want to just give you a couple of points about our family business and us a little bit so you can kind of get to know us. So I'm a father of 5, proud. I have four boys and 1 daughter. I'm blessed that I have 3 of my 5 children working in our family business. We're just starting our 13th year. We actually started our family business in 2009, came out of the ashes of the credit crisis. My father is a Vietnam vet, 2 tours Vietnam, United States Marine Corps, hoorah. I also wanted to let you know that because of our spirit of volunteer and because of all the things that we've done as a family and with all the different volunteers, we really believe fundamentally that West Covina City has really experienced the benefit of all of our fellow volunteers. Having these youth sports programs, we know just by the sheer hours that it takes to run a league that has these children get the benefit We're proud that there's teamwork and leadership, and there's also education requirements and all the things, the camaraderie and things that happen that help build our city. And I know our city a few years ago won several awards for the best playful city, and the city about our trees and all the things that are going on. I also want to thank John Carapino and Mike Cressup, who also help with the Youth Sports Council. I just want to give a shout out to those guys. I know there's a lot of thankless hours that they do. Also, a little bit about our family. So I'm of Cuban-Mexican descent, so Cubano-Mexicano. So it's really great to see you here doing the thankless job, listening to all this stuff that you guys listen to. I know I couldn't listen for 10 seconds, much less 5 minutes of what you guys do. But I also want to give you a congratulations for winning the grants for schools, for the parks. I saw that in the newspaper the other day. But really what I wanted to do is just really come here and try to just kind of lay that groundwork and give you a different perspective. I've got 30 plus years in real estate finance. So I'm also a tremendous resource if there's questions with title and things like that. I'm actually a risk management analysis, so just give you food for thought. But real quick, the volunteers, we've suffered greatly, and unfortunately, our family was impacted. Lost my brother-in-law to COVID right at the end of the year. But we haven't been able to be out in the parks, right? We haven't been able to have our kids out there. And I know, we've looked at the stack of rules that LA County puts together, and we're really trying to work on putting together fundamentally safe seasons this year. But we really believe that we need the input from the city council to be there as part of the Youth Sports Council to help really give us direction or really support, because you see the man hours that you have that are willing, the army of volunteers you have them. They're out there, they're committed. There's no way the city would be able to pay people to do what all the volunteers have been doing over these 20 plus years that I've seen. And one of the fundamentals, the benefits is all those volunteer hours have helped build these communities. And West Covina is a better city because of it. So just ask for that communication to go back to really understanding what's needed at the parks, because I would really like to be able to give that insight, because I know there's all these different people lining up to do it, but really hearing from the volunteers that are doing the work out there in those parks and dealing with the stuff that they're dealing with, that the homeless issues and the vandalism and all this stuff. Just want to reach out that we are a tremendous resource, and we really appreciate and proud of our city. So we just want to say thank you.
That's all our speakers.
Thank you. City Manager, may you please respond to that? Public comments?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council, members of the public. I'll try, Mayor, to run through as many of these as I can address briefly tonight. Regarding the inquiry about could we post the closed session agendas differently using addresses, what we've been doing is using the LA County Assessor's map book page and parcel number, but I think it's possible for us to use addresses. I'll look into that. Mr. Lamb and Lisa Mayo separately each thanked the city, which is always nice. You're welcome. Jerry Poitras asked about an HR issue, which I'll have the HR director speak to her about. Regarding on your agenda tonight, the declaration of the local emergency and continuation of it, it enables the city to continue to receive state and federal subventions as we attempt to wend our way through the pandemic and the costs associated with that. I continue to recommend that be continued for that reason. Ms. Chavarria, I spoke with the Chief of Police earlier this afternoon about some of those incidents that you referenced tonight, and I'll see to it that a member of the police department responds to you directly tomorrow. Mr. Grivich, I'm going to address a couple of the items about the city financial recovery plan and the mid-year report as part of my manager's report in just a moment. The Eastmans welcome as first-time attendees. We're glad you came. I will follow up with code enforcement on the issue of the vermin infestations and see what we can do to assist there. And Mr. Williams, we will also follow up regarding the offer of ongoing relationship with the coaches and the volunteers and with our public services. We will look into what can be done with more volunteer projects as we try to address some of those needs in our parks. I think that's all I've got tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Now on to City Manager's report. To you.
I think I have a 1-hour report tonight. Next slide. We are going to be looking at the second quarter financial report at your next agenda, March the 2nd. We have our year-to-date actuals as of the end of the second quarter, as of December 31st. We were completely in line with budgeted, so revenues at equal to expenditures to that point midway through the fiscal year. And we're continuing to plan in about 6-month increments as we move through the pandemic. I think we're going to be okay through this fiscal year. We are continuing to work on our state audit report and the financial recovery plan that's due to them in June. I think we're on track to get that modified, given some direction we got from the Finance and Audit Committee, and we will be back in front of them on, I believe, March the 24th. Next slide. Good news this time in our sales tax update. We were expecting a bigger decline, I guess. Compared to countywide averages, we ended up doing pretty well. When we tried to get behind the numbers and figure out why, our sales tax advisor, consultant, pointed out that he thinks the bottom 40% of the people that live here aren't creating the majority of the tax. It's the people that are in the upper 60% bracket, and those people are continuing to shop. So the sectors that are doing very well are cars, especially luxury cars and fancy pickup trucks that have all the leather and chrome and bells and whistles. And also, our city performed quite well in the county pool. So lots of people shopping on Amazon and Wayfair and all those other places. And the end result is the sales tax is continuing to hold its own. Next slide. We're all continuing to watch the LA County Health Department and the different tiers. We are still in the purple tier. Next slide. We are working through the system while supplies last to get the older residents, age 65 and older and better, appointments. There's a mega center that was stood up this week. Our police department was asked to provide routine mutual aid and assist with traffic control. We've done our best throughout the pandemic to continue to respond to requests for mutual aid. It's a privilege to be able to do that. West Covina is proud to participate in the latest COVID vaccination center at Cal State LA. Next slide. We are still operating our COVID-19 testing site at Cameron Park. We haven't been able to transition that into a vaccination center because of all of the difficulties in getting vaccine. As of today, I think the number I heard was inception to date, February 1st through today, we had something like 361 people tested. So we are getting utilization. We're open from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. and it's lit up. And anybody that needs a test, please go to Cameron Park and get one. And that's all I've got this evening. Thank you very much.
So it wasn't an hour. All right. Going on to a consent calendar. Is there anything a council would like to pull? No?
Yeah, I'd like to pull item 3.
Item 3? Okay. Anything else? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar items 1 through 4 with the exception of number 3?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Tabatabai?
Aye.
Councilman Wu?
Aye.
Councilman Diaz? Councilwoman Diaz, pardon me. Mayor Pro Tem Castellanos?
Aye.
Mayor Lopez Viado?
Aye, motion approves 5-0. Okay, on to agenda item number 3. Go ahead, Council Tabatabai.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One of the questions that I had regarding the emergency declaration was, one was the protocols we had in place. And so one of the things I wanted to know is, again, what are kind of the criteria that you're using to make a decision on when to go ahead and use the local emergency and use your powers?
Through the chair, the state of local emergency is, in this pandemic, not typical. In fact, it's completely the opposite of whatever typical is in a pandemic. Normally, if a local government in California or any municipality across the country were to suffer a tornado or an earthquake or some disaster like that, you'd declare a local emergency and you'd be in disaster response mode until you moved into recovery. And it's never quite clear when that is, but it never takes a year. I can tell you that. Wildfires are name one. In this case, being in a state of local emergency enables West Covina to be eligible to recoup the cost incurred as we respond. You may remember recently we had the situation where calls for service in the fire department spiked. They not only spiked, they doubled. We normally run 20, 21 calls a day for medical runs in our fire department, and at one of the recent peaks, I forget which one we were following, it might have been Christmas or Thanksgiving or maybe both, we were running at one point north of 40 calls a day. And so we had to bring in parallel support services. We stood up a care ambulance contract, and they provided 2 ambulances to help with patient transport. And then we also stood up a 4th rescue ambulance. We normally run 3. All of those costs are eligible under State Office of Emergency Services and federal FEMA because we're in this state of local emergency. If we weren't in a state of local emergency, I guess we'd be declaring that everything's good here and we don't have those needs and we don't have those expenses. And for that reason, I'm recommending that it be continued. If I could put a further point on it, there's a lot of conversation now about federal legislation which might provide direct COVID response funding to local governments of some significance. Paulina and I were on a call today that lasted, well, it seemed like it lasted forever, but it's probably about an hour. And there could potentially be, if this legislation is signed into law, they're going to use the vehicle of the HUD Community Development Block Grant Program, only without all those rules. There could potentially be eligibility for millions of additional dollars. I shudder to think we would lose the opportunity to garner those monies for this community because everybody knows our finances are quite close. So I'm recommending you adopt this tonight.
Is it possible, since we every 30 days we have to reapprove, for you in your city manager report to again highlight to the residents over the past 30 days each time, or you just mentioned the major decision with care, right? If we could do more of a formal presentation, so residents could see the necessity, and obviously everyone understands the situation we're in, but to give a city manager these powers, the residents want to feel secure in the way the powers are being used. I think it's that transparency, that building trust. Is that something maybe we could look to do going forward in the emergency?
Well, through the chair, I'd be happy to try and do a better job of enunciating what it is we've done as these council meetings come by and in sync with the 30-day window that we're following for the extension, certainly.
Just the last one, yeah. And then the last question, or it's not necessarily a request, but I just wanted to make sure it was out there. Once this pandemic is over, most I would say probably most people, city governments tend to forget what we just went through. And so I guess what I'm asking is it the intention of once the pandemic is over, that city staff will work on protocols and a playbook for the next pandemic, right? You know, this is something that will now be fresh. We will have a lot of these experiences, a lot of this data, a lot of the way it impacted budgets, so we could have a playbook, because again, when we're making decisions on the fly, it becomes much more difficult. But when you do have a structured go-to, and that, you know, the residents also allows the residents to feel comfortable that we have a strategy to deal with this. Again, you know, we had, you know, SARS, H1N1. These were things that didn't turn into pandemics, but very well could have. Now we've actually felt one. You know, from all reports, we are probably going to get another one, you know, within the next 2 decades. You know, 20 years. For a lot of residents here, they know, hey, 20 years ago they were sitting at a meeting, you know, and they'd love to know that in 20 years that this council had created a playbook to deal with and could point to, hey, we have a pandemic response. Is that something we're thinking about?
Through the chair again, yes, it is, and a number of these procedures that we've developed here have changed. Sometimes they change multiple times in a week. We continue to meet as a exec team and talk about COVID issues only, and there is a body of expertise that gets built up, and it certainly should be incorporated into the city's disaster plans, and I would think also into our hazard mitigation plan, so that going forward we could try and prospectively do things to help avoid any disasters, including disasters of this type. Yes.
Go ahead, Councilman Wu.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay. So thank you so much. Okay, and I want to move the motion to approve. But before that, I want to say something. Okay, I agree with you. Okay, I think I agree with Councilman Tabai. Okay, we need to learn this lesson. Okay, we get shut down. The business gets shut down. People. Life has been altered, changed, damaged, okay, and we have been 1 year on and off, okay, and so many times the business open, business closed, the school closed, okay, and we have basically no say. So the point is this, I 100% agree with you, we need to learn something from this, meaning what? We have no say. Why we have no say? Because we don't have a health department. We don't have a health department, so we cannot say anything because we have no data. So we cannot change our policy to try to protect our residents. Did you know how difficult to try to get a vaccine for the Bridge Creek when they have an outbreak? Even now, for after 1 week, we still cannot locate the vaccine for those 90, 100 years old residents in Bridge Creek. Because why? Because county doesn't budge to give to them, and we have no say. We have no say currently. Okay, so we want to learn the lesson is this. We want to have a local control. We want to have a local data, a local policy over our local health department. That's the only way we can make a change. So I move the motion to approve, okay, for this, okay?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Tabatabai?
Aye.
Councilman Wu?
Aye.
Councilwoman Diaz?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Castellanos?
Aye.
Mayor Lopez Viado?
Aye, motion approves. Okay, on to Mayor Council Member reports. Any AB 1234 conference and meeting report from council? Seeing none. City Council request. I actually have a council request. I'd like to request for on the next council meeting if we can get a presentation on the homeless issue and all the things that the city's been doing to alleviate the issues in our city, along with any updates that affect us, whether it's county, federal, state rules that is impacting us. I do have another council request, but I'll wait till then for that. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I recently read the report by the state auditor report regarding homeless in California. That was pretty shocking, and it's a bigger issue. So I'd like to move forward with that request for the presentation, just for our residents to know, because there are things they think it's a city's responsibility or the police, but it's a good knowledge and tool for everybody to see on this. And I actually want action, so I have something, but I know I have to carefully word that. So that being said, do I have any disagreements or add-ons?
I'll second that. I think that's a great idea. You touched on some key points. I think it's good to remind the public about how we got here, what the limitations are that the state sets forth on this by way of legislation, as well as limitations passed down by the courts. So it'll be a good reminder. And in fact, if you would allow me to add to that, if we could add a section on our website to memorialize that, so when residents have questions about that, they could refer to it.
Yes, and would like to, yes, that as well. So that was a second? Okay. Do I have a motion? Everybody's okay with it? Okay, so hope to see that on our next council. Any other council? Oh, go ahead.
I don't have a request. I just have a comment. I'd like to know, okay, I just want to say goodbye to the year of the red. Finally, okay, let's challenging, okay, it's over. So I want to wish everybody have a very happy Lunar New Year's, the year of the ox. I want to wish you, okay, health, okay, healthy, happiness, prosperous of the new year of the ox. Well, thank you so much. Happy New Year.
New Year. Let's see, anything else? Any city council comments? None? Adjournment? Anybody wants a motion to adjourn? Motion, move. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Have a good night.